I feel that Luke 15 is my psalm to the Lord and should be the anthem for all of us here at Teen Challenge. We were all lost at one point in our lives. However, God never stopped searching for us as we strayed from Him. Even when we were at a distance, broken and feeling unforgiven, He passionately approached us and comforted us from all our torment. Luke 15 was the first chapter in the Bible when the light bulb finally came on for me. My 50 plus years with Catholicism and reading the Bible from front to cover multiple times did absolutely nothing for my understanding of its true meaning. Everything before my epiphany of the meaning of Jesus' parables given to the Pharisees and scribes because they condemned him for frequenting with sinners was just a memorization of words. I remember the day so vividly when this realization of the meaning of Luke 15 hit me like a ton of bricks. I was emotionally and physically exhausted from a half a century of an obsessive and perfectionist work ethic that was an attempt to cleanse me from the disgusting creature I truly believed I was. I worked endlessly in all aspects of my life, whether it was in athletics, academics, my career, or even my spirituality, to erase the guilt of shame that the world bestowed on me. However, nothing relieved me from my ill self-perceived agony. Achievement, status, and memorizing repetitive prayers did nothing for my convictions or peace of mind. As a result of my futile worldly attempts for peace and self-esteem, I chose substances to numb and self-medicate to tame my distress. However, we all know too well where this leads, total and utter destruction. At that moment, desperate and yearning for death, I opened my Bible randomly to Luke 15. I began reading Luke 15, 1 through 6 about the lost sheep. Before my enlightenment, I questioned these verses why the shepherd would leave and risk the lives of 99 other sheep for one stray. Why would he risk 99% of his capital for only 1%? My answer came in verse 7 when Jesus replied, I tell you that in the same way there will be more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who do not need to repent. Immediately the Spirit overwhelmed me and my hair stood on end. I realized that I was astray and that I was more important than the others because the enemy had lured me away to devour me. I became intoxicated not by substances, but with the pure excitement that the heavens were having a party for my rescue from the snare of the enemy and his defeat. I started reading further with Luke 15, 8 through 10. Again, before my awakening, I questioned why would the woman search tirelessly for one coin when she had 9 more. I was looking at this parable as a financial issue again. I then realized that it wasn't a monetary thing, but a possession thing. Once more, I recognized I was a lost coin. Not only was I lost, but I was a possession of God owned by him. And it was for that reason that he searched endlessly for me to bring me back into his possession. My confidence and faith in God's love for me increased due to the sheer exuberance in verse 10. In the same way, I tell you, there is rejoicing in the presence of angels of God over one sinner who repents. Strengthened with hope by Jesus' first 2 parables in Luke 15, I moved on to the final parable of the prodigal son. I consider myself the definition of the prodigal son. I seized all the gifts the Father had blessed me with and squandered them to satisfy my desires in an attempt for self-satisfaction. My grueling drive and pursuit for peace through accomplishments, status, money, substances, and women led to the loss of everything in my life. My possessions, career, health, independence, and dignity, and most importantly, my relationship with my 5 children and 3 grandchildren, all flushed down the toilet from my pursuit of happiness through worldly idols. I was at my furthest from God during this time. Exhausted, hopeless, and contemplating death and imagining how my remaining miserable life of poverty-stricken loneliness and pain was going to play out, I precariously cried out to God for help and forgiveness. My certainty was not in my faith in God, but in how could he forgive a sinner like me. I was certain that my sentence was to live out the remaining years of my life hopeless, lonely, and tormented. But God saw me at a distance and ran to me, embraced me, and led me to Teen Challenge. He comforted me and eased my tormented mind during my year tenure on the mountain. He spoke to me the only way I would understand so that I was assured that he was real and his promises were genuine. Like a computer program algorithm, he began with the least of my questions and worked through my most difficult ones. All my bewilderment and anger, questioning how was it possible that he was with me during my darkest times as a child through my adulthood, all summed up with this: I loved you enough to strengthen you through all of this so that you can be my instrument to save your family and others from what you endured and to lead them to me. For these aforementioned reasons, I personally believe that Luke 15 in its entirety is one of the most paramount scriptures for the renewing of strength and hope for all who have strayed from God's path. Forget about it. How you doing?